Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we are demystifying the actual mechanics of becoming smart. And no, we aren't talking about that traditional 22-year education pipeline. You know the drill. 12 years of school, 4 years of college, maybe another 6 years of grad school. For a lot of people, that pipeline doesn't exactly make you a genius. It mostly just leaves you broke. I mean, sure, on the bright side, when you write a long Reddit post about how you can't get a job, your English will be absolutely flawless. But jokes aside, the truth is, genuine intelligence isn't locked behind decades of formal schooling. It's actually highly accessible, and we're going to break down exactly how you can get there.
So what does it actually take to get smarter? Do you really have to rely on the genetic lottery? Or drop thousands of dollars and years of your life just to learn useful skills, solve real-world problems, and, sound intelligent in a conversation? The short answer is no. If you compare yourself to pretty much every other animal on this planet, your brain is already totally overpowered. You got the hardware. The missing link is just the software, the actual practical steps to unlock that next level of intelligence without wasting your time.
And when people want to get smarter, they usually stumble into this swamp of vague, philosophical internet advice. It sounds great, but it's virtually useless. Unless you're, Socrates. You've definitely seen this stuff before. Eat blueberries, they're brain food. Drink black coffee. Take these sketchy online IQ tests. Listen to Mozart while you sleep. These are just hollow brain hacks, probably copied and pasted from some old WikiHow article. They sound cool, but at some point you actually have to learn concrete information, right?
Section 1. The myth of getting smart.
We've got to completely dismantle this traditional view of intelligence. True learning requires actionable, physical steps, not just passive life hacks from a random Facebook post. Getting smarter actually means a few very specific, practical things. It means learning useful skills, ideally skills that make you money. It means becoming genuinely good at solving problems. It means conquering difficult subjects so you can pass your classes and, let's be honest, lightly flex on people. And finally, it means sounding smart in conversation. You want to sound just intelligent enough that people respect you, but not so much that they think you're an obnoxious nerd. Getting this practical definition down sets the perfect stage for the real work, which is reading.
Which brings us to Section 2, Read Smart, Speak Humbly.
This is the absolute most fundamental step to getting smarter, reading. But even more importantly, we need to talk about the soft skill of how you share what you read. There are basically two main paths of reading. First, there's fiction. The main benefit here is that you learn to read faster and you build a killer vocabulary. The secondary benefit? Well, reading all that character dialogue magically simulates the feeling of having friends. But then we have nonfiction, and this is the real secret sauce. The primary benefit of nonfiction is being able to casually drop fascinating facts into everyday conversations, and the secondary benefit is acquiring highly specific, actually useful skills.
Let's look at how this plays out in real life. Imagine someone casually mentions, "It's crazy how we evolved from chimpanzees." There's an obnoxious way to respond and a humble way. The obnoxious approach goes something like, well, actually, evolution is non-linear, and several human-like species inhabited Earth simultaneously. Say that, and boom, you are instantly unlikable. Now consider the humble approach. Oh, I was reading the other day, and apparently humans and chimpanzees evolved side by side. See the difference? You drop the aggressive, well, actually, and swap it for a super humble, I was reading. It's a massive soft skill. You're teaching people without making them feel dumb. That makes them actually want to learn from you, making you instantly respected, likable, and sounding like someone who actually goes outside.
Section 3. The 20% Rule.
So once you've found your books, maybe by accidentally clicking the wrong link and accidentally downloading a free PDF, who knows? How do you extract the skills efficiently? Well, the learning curve is surprisingly generous. Acquiring just 20% of the foundational knowledge allows you to master about 80% of the actual skill. It's a total game changer. Just by pushing through that initial friction at the very beginning of your learning journey, you make a disproportionate amount of progress. You absolutely do not need to memorize 100% of a subject before you start seeing real-world results.
Section 4. Practice or pretend.
But okay, there is a major catch to this rule. Unless you put that 20% of knowledge into physical action, your brain is going to think the information is entirely useless to your survival, and it'll just instantly dump it. Think about it. No one has ever learned how to tie a tie just by quietly watching someone else do it. Never. You only learn how to tie a tie by watching a tutorial while you are actively fumbling with the fabric around your own neck. The exact same rule applies to everything you read. Books only make you smarter if you give your brain a definitive physical reason to remember the stuff inside them. Let's ground this with an everyday example. Say you read a chapter in a book about the optimal way to clean a bedroom.
What do you do next? You immediately get up and go clean a bedroom. It literally doesn't even have to be yours. Just go clean one. By attaching a physical action to the text right away, you lock that knowledge in permanently. Your brain registers the movement and says, oh, hey, we just used this in the real world. We better keep it.
But what if you can't physically practice something right away? Say you're reading a manual on how to jump-start a dead car. Obviously, not everyone has 2 cars sitting in their living room to practice on. That's where this clever workaround comes in. Mental simulation. Step 1. Mentally put yourself in that high-stress situation. Step 2. Pull up a first-person video of the task on your phone. Step 3. Intensely pretend that is your car. Literally imagine the heavy cables in your hands, the sparks flying, the whole process from start to finish. By visualizing it with that level of intensity, you successfully trick your brain into thinking it actually physically did the task.
And that leads us to a really critical question. How do you constantly convince your brain this information is useful on a daily basis? How do you trick your mind into thinking its literal survival depends on remembering some random facts you just read in a book?
Section 5. The ultimate brain hack.
Let's look at how the entire traditional school system secretly operates on this very principle. It's all about forced retention through artificial high stakes. Think about what tests and exams actually are. They're basically just imaginary scenarios, completely fabricated by teachers, to make knowledge that you probably won't need for 15 years seem incredibly useful right now. When you sit down for a test, the stakes feel huge. If you fail, you bomb your GPA. Or, as our source material jokes, if you cheat in South Korea, you might face actual prison time. Either way, creating this immediate sense of danger is usually enough to make your brain snap to attention and frantically store the info.
So the key is applying this trick to your own self-guided learning by simulating those high stakes. You've got to skip the passive studying stuff. Colorful mind mapping, rereading highlighted text, they just don't yield fast results. Instead, do practice questions. They simulate the exact moment you need to recall the knowledge. If the book doesn't have practice questions, make your own. And if you really want to lock it in, convince yourself the stakes are literally life or death. Pretend you're hanging off a cliff by one arm and your friend will only pull you up if you can name all the parts of a human cell. I know it sounds completely ridiculous, but this intense mental simulation signals to your brain that this information is absolutely essential for your survival.
And honestly, this is exactly why the humble, boring textbook is the absolute S-tier format for becoming smart as fast as possible. Textbooks offer no fluff, no hand-holding, and no distractions. They're just pure, concentrated information packed with practice questions. And when you inevitably struggle to solve those questions, you're forced to flip all the way back to some obscure Roman numeral page in the appendix to figure it out. Is it as fun as passively watching a YouTube video on the couch and forgetting it an hour later? Definitely not. But if you're actually up for the challenge, textbooks force the exact high-stakes mental engagement you need to build true intelligence.
So I'll leave you with this final, slightly provocative thought. Will you simulate the stakes to build real skills, or will you just forget everything in this explainer an hour from now? It is time to stop passively consuming content, hoping you'll just absorb it by osmosis. Grab a nonfiction book or a textbook, read smart, physically practice what you learn, and fiercely simulate those high stakes. That is how you level up your brain. Becoming smart is easy, actually. You just have to actively do the work. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer. Keep building those skills, and I'll catch you on the next one.